we are going to hear later in the show from the Garda Representative Association, who have warned that excessive disciplining has left members of the force afraid to draw their baton even when in danger, which is pretty shocking when you think about it, Ciara.
Yeah, and, I think no one wants a police force that engages in police brutality. I think let's just accept that as a given. But I don't think we're in any danger of that here in Ireland. I think the Guards are a fairly benign and reasonable force. And now I say this as somebody who's on the right side of the law pretty much all the time. So I don't really come into any kind of conflict with the Guards. I accept that. It might be different if I was in a different walk of life, perhaps. But Guards have to police. Guards have to be able to pursue. They have to be able to restrain. They have to be able to arrest. And sometimes that will be a physical altercation with somebody if they are resisting and all that kind of stuff. And we've seen and we've heard many, many times that Gardaí are sent, or issues are sent to GSOC that can take 18 months, 24 months to resolve, about a Garda pursuit with a car chasing another car, or a Garda intervening in something where there is an altercation and it does become violent and all of that. And I think it must be very, very difficult to be a guard at the moment, because if you don't know what you can and can't do, like being a guard must be a bit like being a doctor in an emergency. You need to be trained so that you act instinctively without thinking, and you know exactly what you're supposed to do in the moment at the time, without thought, because you're trained for that. If guards are questioning themselves and second guessing themselves and don't know what to do, we are hamstringing, if that's a word, our own Garda force. And I think this is, I think maybe the pendulum needs to swing back a little, because guards need to be allowed to do their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I think what this is alluding to is a lot of the disciplinary measures, and there's been a couple of high-profile ones that do seem to have been excessive in their zeal. But I wonder, is it really an issue for Gardaí out there? Do they really feel they don't know how to react in certain circumstances?
We have heard them say that they do. We've had texts in before about people saying that they don't know what to do. They don't know, should they pursue a car that's been robbed or joyriding. They don't know if they should pursue that in their Garda car.
But you do need caution. And I'm not referring to any, because every individual case is different. But you do need caution. You don't necessarily want Gardaí recklessly pursuing wrongdoers if it is going to lead to a dangerous situation. So I mean, every situation, it's never going to be black and white, is it? It is always going to be tricky.
I would err on the side of largely trusting guards, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, except we have had issues.
We have had some issues, but
we've had quite a number of issues.
I still believe that the guards and the force, as I say, is a benign force, well intended,
I accept that,
and on the side of the people.
That.
I do believe that.
I do believe that, but you do have to have regulation, and you have to be careful, because we have had bad apples. There's absolutely no question about that. So I think it's a tricky one. I'm not absolutely convinced that this is the case, but maybe guards listening this morning will tell us otherwise.
Yeah.
Particularly, we'd love to hear from anyone on this, but particularly Gardaí, if you're a serving Garda, do you find you are restricted at the moment? Is it a difficulty? Do you question yourself before you draw your baton?
Putting words in the Gardaí's mouth. I suspect there's an issue. But look, let us know. 087 1400 106 is the WhatsApp. Let us know this morning here on Newstalk Breakfast.
Tell us why you believe overzealous disciplining has left Gardaí afraid to draw their batons even when in danger.
Good morning, Shane. I suppose we're all members of Garda Síochána bound by the Code of Ethics and Garda decision making model, and there's the old discipline regs, which are now being replaced by the conduct and performance regulations. So the GSOC policing authority, we have a myriad of oversight bodies on us, including Garda management. And I think that you don't see that in any other walk of life. Any other employee has to endure that. And I believe that there's, and we believe our members are telling us, there's an overzealous application of discipline on that. There's many very minor infractions which never come to the fore. They were never, publicised. And those very minor infractions are often ones that are disciplined by our members frontline, doing their job on a daily basis, whereby there is no complaint made by the public or no complaint made to GSOC, but nonetheless it is deemed, albeit very minor infractions, to be subject to discipline of our members. And we believe that is causing a major problem for our members. So when we look back at the likes of the riots last November, and we look back, over other incidents during the year where members were questioned, if you like, if not criticised, for being slow to draw batons and pepper spray and so on. The direction was quite unclear from management at that time in relation to an order to draw batons and use batons. And our members fear that when they do that, they will be disciplined for, excess use of force.
Is that not more of a failure of communication than one of excess supervision?
I think ultimately when the member on the ground is being disciplined or a fear of discipline, then that is a problem, and it's more than just a direction or a communication. And I think it's a reality, unfortunately, for our members.
It's a reality born out of necessity, is it not? I mean, GSOC was brought in for a reason.
Well, I think
because of a number of scandals, I suppose, but there was a crisis of confidence in Garda Síochána at the time, and there was a feeling that something needed to be done to address that, and that supervision was required. I mean, you can't have a police force without supervision.
I think there's 2 points in that. Number one, in relation to the scandal and the lack of trust in Garda Síochána, I think to say that reflected members of Garda rank across the board would be incorrect.
I didn't say that, though.
No, I appreciate that, but I think that's what some of the listeners may take from that. It's most certainly what I took from that. But similarly, I think that members who use our service, 2 to 3% is all of the 11,000 members that we represent would use our services for discipline throughout their lifetime. So our commissioner is on record as saying where there is no discipline, there is indiscipline. And I quoted that during the last article on The Independent on Sunday. I find that almost offensive because
is it not just a statement of fact? Is that not a fairly logical statement?
Absolutely not.
If there isn't discipline, there's indiscipline.
I think there's a certain type of individual who joins in Garda Síochána, and we are quite unique in that. And I think that needs to be remembered. Not everybody will join in Garda Síochána and choose a career path in our organisation. And those that do, I think the 98% most certainly try their level best to adhere to all discipline and to their own moral compass. And I think that's something that really needs to be remembered. I think that we ourselves would say, where we have members who are alleged to be involved in corrupt practice or illegal behaviour, we have no, support for that kind of behaviour. Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. As an association, the GRA. So we wouldn't condone that. But it's a very, very small few. And unfortunately, in the size of the organisation, there's always going to be a small few, Shane. But I think
now I have to put it to you that the problems that emerged a decade ago, it was more than a few bad apples. There was systemic issues in Garda Síochána. Going from the quashing of penalty points to much more serious things than that. It wasn't just a few bad apples. And it would be incorrect, factually incorrect to state that.
The quashing of penalty points is before the courts at the moment, and we're aware of that. And I think that if we look in long term at that investigation, the members that have been suspended long term as a result of that, and the numbers of those who will or have received charges to appear before the courts are very, very small.
Okay.
And I think that's something that, again, it needs to be looked at. And those members have yet to be convicted or tried. So we need to be very careful what we say in relation to that. And I suppose any more than that for me would be inappropriate to comment on.
All right.
At this time.
Okay, we will leave it there. Thank you indeed for talking to us this morning. The President of the Garda Representative Association, Mark O'Mara there.